Welcome back once again. Today we are going to discuss on this topic that is really a core problem in our society today. The conception of omenala as Igbo. Yes, this topic is really affecting both the traditional religion and Christian religions. So that is why we found it necessary to discuss on this topic, omenala, as not Igbo. Yes, this is a call to the youths today. And one of the greatest misconceptions in our society today is the belief that omenala and the Igbo are the same thing. That is making charm. This confusion has become even more dangerous because many young people now associate the practice of omenala with visiting native doctors. Why? Seeking charms, performing rituals for wealth, and engaging in various spiritual practices that promise quick riches. So as a result, whenever the word omenala is mentioned, many people immediately think of shrines, charms, sacrifices, money rituals, and occult practices. This understanding is not only incomplete but also deeply misleading. So, omenala in its true sense refers to the customs, traditions, values, moral codes, and way of life handed down from generation to generation. It is the identity of a people. It encompasses their language, marriage customs, respect for elders, communal living, traditional festivals, proverbs, modes of dressing, and social values. So omenala is what makes a people who they are. Now, in Igbo people, for example, the Igbo people have many aspects of omenala that have nothing to do with charms or occult practices. Respecting elders is omenala. Caring for one's family is omenala. Traditional marriage rites are omenala. Hospitality towards visitors is omenala. Settling disputes through community elders is omenala. Hard work, integrity, and communal responsibility are all part of omenala. Now, unfortunately, many youths today no longer appreciate these noble aspects of omenala. Instead, they are drawn to a distorted version that revolves around the pursuit of wealth at any cost. The rise of social media has amplified this problem. Young people see flashy lifestyles, expensive cars, luxurious houses, and displays of wealth. Rather than asking how such wealth was earned, many seek shortcuts. This has led to increased patronage of native doctors and practitioners who promise supernatural wealth and protection. So, practices such as okite, ibubo, money rituals, oath-taking of wealth for wealth, occult covenants, blood sacrifices, spiritual fortifications for fraud, and various forms of rituality. Wealth seeking has become increasingly attractive to many youths. And I tell you, some travel long distances in search of powers that promise instant riches. Others spend enormous sums of money seeking charms that supposedly attract customers, bring political influence, secure contracts, or guarantee success in fraudulent activities. Yet, these practices should not be confused with omenala. Now, Igbo refers to the preparation, use, or administration of charms, mystical substances, spiritual medicines, talismans, amulets, and related practices. Whether one approves of such practices or not, they represent only a specific category of spiritual activities. They do not define the entirety of Igbo culture and tradition. So, to say that omenala is the same as Igwogu is like saying that medicine is the same as surgery. Of course, surgery may be one branch of medicine, but medicine is much broader. Likewise, some ritual practices may exist within traditional society, but omenala itself is far larger than those practices. That is the tragedy of our generation. That many youths have abandoned the values that made our ancestors respected. The ancient Igbo society celebrated hard work, what was admired when it came from industry, farming, trade, craftsmanship, and diligence. A wealthy man was expected to be generous, responsible, and respected because of his contribution to society. But today, however, many seek wealth without labor. Patience has been replaced by what? Desperation. Character has been replaced by appearance. Integrity has been replaced by quick profit. The result is an increasing fascination with charms, rituals, and spiritual shortcuts. This development harms both the individual and society. It tarnishes the image of authentic omenala. It causes many people to view all traditional culture as evil or dangerous. It creates fear, suspicion, and moral confusion among the younger generation. A proper understanding is therefore necessary. Omenala teaches identity. Igwogu teaches what? A particular spiritual practice. Omenala teaches community. Igwogu focuses on what? Spiritual power. Omenala preserves culture. Igwogu seeks specific spiritual results. Omenala can be seen in language, marriage, family life, and social values. Igwogu is seen in charms, talismans, rituals, and spiritual preparations. So the two are not the same. As we educate the younger generations, we must help them understand that embracing omenala does not mean pursuing charms or money rituals. One can proudly celebrate Igbo culture, speak the language, honor traditional values, respect elders, participate in culture or cultural events, and preserve ancestral heritage without engaging in any form of ritualistic wealth seeking. The future of our people depends on recovering this distinction. If we fail to do so, many youths will continue to mistake the pursuit of supernatural wealth for cultural preservation. Omenala deserves to be understood for what it truly is: the rich heritage and identity of a people, not merely the pursuit of charms, rituals, or mystical powers. So the challenge before this generation is clear. Let us preserve the wisdom, values, and noble traditions of our ancestors while rejecting every practice that promotes greed, exploitation, fear, deception, or the destruction of human dignity. Only then can omenala regain its proper meaning and continue to serve as a source of identity, unity, and moral guidance for generations to come. Now, why our ancestors never defined success by charms? I want to tell you this reason why. After understanding that omenala and igwogu are not the same thing, another important question that should occur to your mind is our ancestors did our ancestors knew about charms and traditional spiritual practices? If they knew about it, why didn't they practice the charms for wealth? Why didn't they seek more of becoming wealth, shortcuts to be rich? Why is today's generation so obsessed with them, with wealth, shortcuts to riches? The answer reveals one of the greatest differences between the traditional society of old and the society we live in today. Many young people assume that because our ancestors practiced certain spiritual traditions, they spent their lives pursuing wealth through charms and rituals. But I tell you, history tells a different story. The traditional Igbo society was built on hard work. A man was respected because of his labor, not because of mysterious powers. Farmers cultivated large farmland. Traders traveled long distances to buy and sell goods. Craftsmen spent years learning their skills. Hunters earned honor through courage. Blacksmiths gained recognition through mystery of their craft. Success was connected to effort then. Even when spiritual beliefs existed, they were never intended to replace hard work. The young man was expected to labor before expecting prosperity. Wealth was seen as the reward for diligence, discipline, wisdom, and patience. But I tell you that today, however, many people desire the reward without process. They want wealth without work. They want influence without service. They want honor without character. They want results without sacrifice. This mentality has created an environment where many youths run from one native doctors to another, seeking shortcuts to prosperity. Instead of asking, how can I develop my skills? They ask, who can make me rich? Instead of asking, how can I build a business? They ask, what charm can attract money? Instead of asking, how can I become valuable? They ask, what ritual can make people favor me? And this is not Omenala. This is the worship of shortcuts. The tragedy is that many people now associate every aspect of traditional culture with money rituals. Okito Igbo, blood covenant, occult practice, spiritual fortification for fraud, and various forms of ritual wealth seeking. As a result, the beautiful aspects of Omenala are being forgotten. Our ancestors taught honesty. We teach manipulation. Our ancestors taught patience. We celebrate instant success. Our ancestors taught communal responsibility. We celebrate selfish accumulation. Our ancestors taught reputation. We celebrate appearance. The consequences are visible everywhere. Families are divided because of greed. Friendships are destroyed because of money. Young people live in fear of ritual retaliation. Why? Many spend their lives searching for stronger charms because the previous ones did not satisfy their desires. The irony is that while many seek wealth, they lose peace of mind. They lose the peace of mind. Why they seek power, they lose freedom. Why they seek influence, they lose their conscience. And I want to tell you this. A society that mistakes charms for culture will eventually lose both culture and morality. Because true Omenala was never primarily about acquiring mystical powers. It was about preserving identity. It was about building strong families. It was about honoring elders. It was about protecting community values. It was about teaching responsibility. It was about preserving wisdom. The challenge facing today's youth is not whether they know the word Omenala. The challenge is whether they understand its true meaning. If Omenala is reduced to charm, then culture dies. If Omenala is reduced to wet rituals, then identity is lost. If Omenala is reduced to the pursuit of supernatural riches, then future generations will inherit confusion instead of heritage. The youth of today must therefore make a choice. Will they preserve the values that built great community, or will they continue chasing shortcuts that promise everything but often deliver regret? The future of Omenala depends on the answer. It depends on what you as individual takes to yourself. If you wish to understand more about Omenala, you need to go into yourself and meditate in yourself. And I strongly believe that part of the cause for this misconception of Omenala is social media. In social media, fake wealth and celebrity cultures are destroying the minds of the African youth. One of the greatest challenges facing the African youth today is not even poverty, lack of education, or even unemployment. The greatest challenge is the corruption of the mind. For generations, young people were taught that success requires patience, discipline, learning, sacrifice, and hard work. A child grew up understanding that greatness was a journey. Wealth was expected to come gradually through effort and persistence. But today, social media has changed that understanding. Every day, millions of young people scroll through videos and pictures displaying luxurious cars, expensive houses, designer clothing, bundles of cash, private jets, and extravagant lifestyles. And unfortunately, very few people ask the most important question: how was this wealth obtained? Instead, many ask, how can I get this as quickly as possible? This dangerous mindset has become one of the driving forces behind the increasing attraction of native doctors, money rituals, charms, okite, and various forms of spiritual wealth seeking. The youth no longer want to become wealthy, they want to appear wealthy. The difference is enormous. A truly wealthy person builds value over time. A person obsessed with appearance only seeks to impress others. This obsession has created a generation that measures success by display rather than substance. Some young people are no longer inspired by teachers, investors, scholars, farmers, entrepreneurship, engineering, doctors, or even craftsmen. Instead, they are inspired by whoever appears rich. Whether the wealth is genuine or not becomes irrelevant. Whether the source is moral or immoral, it becomes secondary. Whether the lifestyle is sustainable or destructive is ignored. The appearance becomes everything. And this mentality has produced a dangerous culture of comparison. So a young man sees someone his age driving an expensive vehicle. Immediately he becomes dissatisfied with his own progress. He forgets that people travel different paths. He forgets that success comes at different times. He forgets that appearances can be deceptive. He begins searching for shortcuts. And the tragedy is that many of these displays of wealth are carefully manufactured illusions. Some people borrow luxury items. Some rent expensive vehicles, of course. Some use social media to create a false image. Some finance lifestyles they cannot afford. Yet thousands of youths watch and believe they are witnessing genuine success. As frustration increases, the search for quick wealth does what? Intensifies. This is where many fall into dangerous traps. Native doctors who promise instant riches become attractive. Money rituals become attractive. Spiritual shortcuts become attractive. Fraud becomes attractive. Even crime becomes attractive. Anything that promises quick results becomes attractive. The problem is no longer merely economic. It has become psychological. It has become moral. It has become spiritual. A generation that loses the ability to wait becomes vulnerable to deception. Be it traditional religion or Christian religion. But today we are talking about the traditional religion. A generation that worships wealth eventually sacrifices principles. A generation that values appearance more than character will always struggle to distinguish truth from illusion. And ironically, our ancestors warned against this mentality. Traditional wisdom celebrated patience. Traditional wisdom honored integrity. Traditional wisdom respected diligence. Traditional wisdom taught that a good name was worth more than riches obtained through dishonor. And many of the proverbs handed down through Omenala emphasizes perseverance, wisdom, responsibility, and self-control. Yet these lessons are increasingly ignored. The result is visible everywhere. Young people are anxious. Young people are depressed. Young people are frustrated. Many feel like failures simply because they cannot compete with the images they see online. What they do not realize is that many of the people they envy are struggling themselves. Social media often displays success but hides suffering. It displays wealth but hides debt. It displays happiness but hides pain. It displays luxury but hides loneliness. Therefore, the greatest battle facing today's youth is not the battle for money. It is the battle for perspective. Young people must learn to distinguish reality from illusion. They must learn that genuine success requires time. They must learn that character matters more than appearance. They must learn that integrity matters more than influence. They must learn that purpose matters more than popularity. And most importantly, they must learn that Omenala was never built on the worship of wealth. It was built on identity, community, honor, responsibility, wisdom, and hard work. If the youth recover these values, they will recover themselves. But if they continue chasing appearances, they may gain temporary admiration while losing the very foundation of their future. The question facing this generation is simple. Will we allow social media to define success for us? Or will we return to the timeless values that build lasting greatness? And the answer may determine the future of an entire generation. So you listening to this video, Omenala is not Igbo. Omenala is never Igbo. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.